And welcome back into the Concord TV studio. You can tell already that I'm not by myself here. I'm joined actually by three really incredible guests here who are going to be talking to us about a really challenging ongoing situation regarding our state budget and funding for the arts. For those of you who are longtime viewers of Concord TV, you know that we are big advocates for the arts community here in Concord especially, but certainly statewide as well. So I'm really glad to have these experts here who are going to give us the lowdown on what's happening with the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts and kind of the next steps and what we can do about this. So I'm joined directly to my left. We have Deanna Hoying from Symphony, New Hampshire. And you also have experience in all kinds of other parts of the arts community, Arts for New Hampshire. And we'll come back to you in a second, Deanna, for more about you. But next to you, we have the famous Dr. Roger Brooks, longtime advocate for the arts, formerly of the State Council on the Arts. And you're oftentimes here in the studio doing election coverage for Concord TV. So it's nice to see you under tough circumstances, but to see you not in the fall, to actually see you in the spring.
Thank you.
And we have next to you, Lynne Sabean from the Concord Community Music School. And you have great perspectives on the impact of what's happening for your organization as well. But let's circle back, Deanna. I just want to just get a little bit, and then we'll go down the line here about your organizations, your connection with New Hampshire arts in general. So just give us just a quick summary there.
Sure. I'm the executive director of Symphony New Hampshire. We're the oldest professional orchestra in the state at 102 years.
Wow.
And so we play throughout the state. We do a lot in our Nashua, Manchester, Concord region, but we also take shows out and do them in other communities. We use a lot of our musician ensembles that way too, to be able to get out further into the state. I'm also involved with Arts for NH. I'm on their board, specializing in advocacy, which has led me to being the state arts captain for Americans for the Arts. But I've been in arts and certainly education for more than 30 years in any number of places I've lived. So we're very, very happy to be here, and hopefully we'll get some headway on some of this. It does impact all of us.
Yeah, good. You're the perfect person to have here in the studio to talk about this. So thanks for joining us.
Sure, thank you.
What about you, Roger?
Well, I didn't come to the arts through the arts. I came to the arts as an elementary school teacher and a principal. And when my principal brought in artists to work with my kids, I saw them in a complete different way. It educated not only the kids, but it educated the teacher and later me as a principal. And I became an advocate for the arts through education for what it does in broadening not only my perspective, but the students' perspective. And so back in 1982, I had served on the touring panel and the arts and education panel, and sometimes as chair. And in 1982, I was appointed to the State Council on the Arts. So then in 1982, 83, and 83, I became chair, and I served until 87, and then I went back to my day job. Then I also came back in 2012 as chair again, and served until last June as chair of the Council on the Arts.
Okay. And we will definitely come back to talking more about what the Council on the Arts is and getting some additional historical context. Lynne, a little bit just about at the music school and kind of your role and your perspective there.
Sure. The music school was founded in 1984 by music visionary Peggy Center. We just celebrated our 40th anniversary last year. Every week the music school has about 1,100 students on site, as well as more than 400 off site. That's in the greater Concord area, and we also spread out. We're in 129 communities all over the state and in neighboring states as well, thanks to technology such as Zoom, which allows us to get our reach a lot broader than we should have.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family of visual artists and musicians. In addition to my work at the music school, I had previously been involved with the Capital Center for the Arts. And as an artist myself, I've been involved with the Hampshire Arts Association, the Nashua Arts Association, the Women's Caucus for the Arts, and a number of other groups. While I'm here only in my capacity with the music school today, I have a deep empathy for what these other organizations are going for, as well as somewhat of an understanding of what they're going through right now.
That's awesome, and congratulations to the music school on 40th anniversary, and
Thank you.
hopefully many more to come. Great organization, and really all three of you for your contributions in the arts community. So I wanted to circle back. Really, the reason we're here is the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts, and the harsh reality that right now it looks like the whole council agency being dissolved, being not just defunded, but to not exist anymore. It's a state agency that enhanced the life of New Hampshire by stimulating economic growth through the arts, investing in creativity of students, and making the arts accessible to underserved populations, preserving heritage arts. That sounds pretty darn important to me. Roger, could you maybe provide some perspective on some of the other kind of about some of the grants and about just overall what the Council on the Arts tries to achieve?
The Council on the Arts, up until now, receives funding from the National Endowment for the Arts and the state. We get a matching dollar for dollar from the National Endowment for the Arts for every dollar that the state provides. I think one of the most important things is that the Arts Council ensures that whether you're rich or poor, everybody has access to the arts. We do that. They do that through PTOs, town halls, performances, and making it accessible to anybody, no matter what their income. And the Arts Council serves every county in the state, and is prominent in supporting those tiny little events that are so important in the development of our citizens and our future voters.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that it's hitting all corners of the states and a lot of rural areas of New Hampshire too, right?
That's right.
So as of us recording here, Monday, I think the date's April 7th, right? Things rapidly change when it comes to our state government or just in general in government. But as of our recording today, it looks like I mentioned the funding is at risk of going away completely. I was wondering, Roger, if you could just give us just a quick snippet of kind of where things stand at this given moment to just set the record straight.
Yes, the House Finance Committee, Division 1, has voted along party lines to defund the Arts Council, to repeal the enabling legislation, which was created in 1965, abolish the federal partnership, which brings this past year $1 million to New Hampshire. And it looks like the vote is going to be this Thursday. There's going to be lots of things going on between now and then, and a little later on we'll tell you how to get involved.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, Deanna, your perspective, just as someone so involved in the arts community, what are some of your just initial thoughts of just the overall situation, and if you could just share your thoughts on that.
Sure. I mean, I think I look at it as an investment. You know, this is the state's investment in our citizens, in our arts, in our culture. And right now, with the money we got in this last biennium, it basically invested about 73 cents per person. The return on that is over $3.4 billion. I would say that's a really good investment. Annually, I would take those odds any day. So it is an investment in the sector. I do think that, you know, it impacts all of us in varying degrees. It is one of the few that is that allows you to have an operating grant, which means that it helps you with your actual operations of your day-to-day things. And in the arts, that's pretty rare. Most of them are project grants. Now, they also do project grants, but the nice thing is that they've got so many varieties of, you know, there's traditional arts, there's arts and health. I mean, there's so many different avenues, artist entrepreneurship, all these different ways that they can reach a lot of the state, a lot of the creative people we have in the state, And when we talk about a creative economy, it really is an economy. I mean, it employs over 21,000 people. They all get paid. We all pay taxes. We all pay, all the things that you do as a working person. So I think it has this ripple effect. You drop the stone and you think about how all these ripples impact us. And it's going to impact everything from that small theater in a rural part that has been a community gathering place to larger organizations like us, like Capital Center for the Arts, and in such a way that in how we feel about how the state feels about us, there's that too. There's this, boy, they don't care. And that's where I think it really gets a lot of us. We've done so much great work, and we have so many wonderful stories about how the arts positively impact all kinds of people from across the state. And to say that the state isn't supportive of that, that's, I think, where it feels personal, because we all are artists. We've put so much into our art that it is personal. When we take our musicians out and we play at, in fact, I have someone at the Manchester Meals on Wheels today as part of our SNH Plays Back program, which we do get grant funding for, but it allows us to take musicians to where people are, not expecting them always to come to us, but let's meet them where they are. So we've been able to do things at YMCAs and at all different kinds of places across the state, taking these small groups to go and play, and giving them a chance to hear live orchestral music and that connection with the musician. We've done stuff with hospice, we've done stuff with St. Joe's in Nashua. So I mean, all over the place we've been able to do these kinds of projects with the support that we get from the State Council for the Arts.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of carry those thoughts over, and Lynne, get your perspectives from the music school about the importance of art. I know it's kind of a general open-based question, but just some of your thoughts to follow along with that.
Sure. I think Deanna's really done a very good job framing the discussion. Like Symphony NH, we have received grant funding from the NHSCA. I'm learning that's how it's pronounced now. I keep saying the alphabet soup of NHSCA. From NHSCA throughout the years. Our traditional arts grant has allowed us, just last Saturday, we had a Celtic music event, and we're going to have another one coming up on May 23rd. The Arts and Health Grant has helped us go out into preschools and work with developmentally challenged preschoolers. You can imagine, toddlers that are already behind at just 2 years of life. We're helping them being able to get an equal footing and be able to participate fully in everything that life has to offer. We work with dementia patients. We work with Parkinson's patients. We work on really ensuring that music, because music, and I'm sure you'll agree with this too, is really the soundtrack of people's lives. And I agree with what you said about it feeling very personal to us, what is happening, going on, as people are finding out about what is being contemplated, and they're reaching out to us. It's like, are you guys going to be okay? Or, I've brought my kids here, I'm bringing my grandkids here. I mean, there is really a tradition that has built up over time, and anybody who thinks that music is a luxury, I don't think has really slowed down to really fully understand everything that both our organizations do.
Well, I love that, what you're saying about art. It's not a luxury. These are essential services that you described that we're talking about.
It's actually a necessity, and there's a lot of research that have gone into all the different skills that learning music, practicing music, listening to music helps kids throughout their education. It helps them with math. It helps them learn skills such as perseverance and dedication.
Yeah. Roger, your thoughts on that?
Well, I was thinking about arts and healthcare when you were speaking, Lynne. I remember that Beverly Rush, one of our arts practitioners, was in Concord Hospital, and she had a gig every Friday afternoon at Concord Hospital, and the research shows that people get better, quicker, need less medication, survive operations, and get well in shorter periods of time, and through the arts. And so she had a love of preemies, and so after her gig, she would always go up and play for the preemies in the baby section. And I heard anecdotal after anecdotal evidence from the nurses and the LPNs that said, well, these kids were under the lights. They were supposed to be there 8 days and 7 days and 9 days, and after 2 days of Beverly Rush, there's no reason for them to be there. And they were extolling the virtues of this one unique event, and they were crying, and everybody was crying with them, It's powerful. And beyond the anecdotal, there's a lot of research evidence now, especially with the veterans hospitals, on the curative factors of music and other arts interventions.
As a volunteer at Concord Hospital, I can back that up. I've personally seen that. I've also worked with the preemies, especially those that are born to drug-addicted mothers, which is just heartbreaking to see that. And the hospital actually has records showing that because of things like the music practitioners, that these babies require less medicine to get off and get a healthy start in life.
It's the power of the arts. And what you're describing in several instances here is the arts helping fill in the gap to help in our health and human services in support, I'm sure in many cases, of our school districts, which have their own challenges with funding the arts, of course.
I think it's penny wise and pound foolish. We've got all these examples of the arts don't cost a lot, but have great impact. But some of the broad economic impacts are phenomenal. In the Commerce Department, the Bureau of Economic Analysis has, several years ago, they started creating sectors and showing the influence of each sector on the U.S. economy. And they came out and found that the creative community was #1, and everybody said, "You've got to be crazy. That can't be true. Go back and do your analysis again." They came back several months later and they said, "Well, we did make some mistakes, but we found that it is an even greater impact." It is, the creative community is #1 in the U.S. The latest data is 2023 data, and it breaks it down for each state. In New Hampshire, it's over 3% of our total economic activity in the state. It's phenomenal. Deanna mentioned the over $3.5 billion annually that it contributes, and this sector is more important economically than the timber industry, than the tourist industry, for construction. It's just phenomenal. And if you combine all these different factors and show their value added, they're #3 in the U.S. With construction and retail sales and all, because and there's overlap because obviously some construction is in the arts and some is separate from the arts, but it just shows the magnitude of this. And so penny wise and pound foolish, you're not spending a lot of money, but you're getting a great return. It's got a fantastic return on investment.
Return on investment. People love hearing that, and it's hard to argue those numbers. Deanna, just turning back to you, and anyone else could answer this as well. The importance of investing on the arts. I lost my train of thought for a second. Roger was so profound, I lost my train of thought for a second there. You have a way of doing that. But the importance of investing on the arts. You're involved in a couple different arts organizations. It seems like everyone's come together in the arts community in New Hampshire to support this, about the importance of investing in this really vital resource.
Right. It's one thing and I think it was a really good example when we entered the COVID and Broadway shut down. And all of a sudden you saw the ripple effects of all of those restaurants and hotels, everything that relied on Broadway. And now all of a sudden you took that audience out of it, and how much that impacted all these other businesses that were, ancillarily located next to a theater. And I think we also have lots of stories of that old rundown theater in the small town that was renovated, and all of a sudden you start to see the main street start to change as the theater is bringing in more people and more business and all these other things. So these investments go beyond just us and our arts organizations. This is for the health and welfare of the community. And in fact, I think a lot of the data coming out of COVID showed that communities that invested more in their arts had a quicker recovery because they were able to start getting people back into those main streets, those restaurants, all those other things. And I will say one more thing about the value of the arts. I think it's one of the last places where you can go. It's not partisan. You can go sit and listen to the symphony, or go listen to one of the ensembles at the community music school, or go to a gallery, or go to that festival. And it's for everyone. Everyone is welcome. There's no litmus test. Everyone, and you can be sitting next to somebody in one of our shows, and you may have different political opinions, and yet you're there to see the same piece and have that live experience together. This is one of the last few places we can do that. We've so segmented ourselves into these little silos, but when you come out to the arts, it opens up that door, even if it's just a little bit, to allow ourselves to have those conversations and to have that connection with people that isn't related to what your politics are. It's really to the fact that you and I have shared this experience together, and that's a really special thing that's hard to replicate in just about anything else.
And it's such a broad scope, too, in terms of, we've been talking about the arts just in general. I don't think we've even broken down all the different types, between performance art, visual art, some combination of both. You have film and media and graphic design and all these things that fit under art. I know Poetry Out Loud goes through all this. I mean, is something like Poetry Out Loud just not going to exist in New Hampshire, potentially? Is that...
Well, the Arts Council has supported it ever since its inception, and it's to be determined what's going to survive. We still have time to make a difference, and hopefully we can.
Good. Lynne, what are your thoughts just in terms of the art community coming together? I mean, we have all these different organizations sitting right here talking, and I've heard some other really productive discussions. Obviously, things have been very, I hate to use the word frantic, but given how rapid this is all happening. But how has it been with the music school just in terms of collaborating with other arts organizations here?
Well, I think obviously when we have the word community in the name of our school, it really helps us focus on what's important. We come together, we celebrate as community, we heal as communities, we hurt as communities, and something that impacts one area of the community affects another. Roger, you were talking earlier about veterans. The music school has a program where we send a music therapist out to the New Hampshire Veterans Home, which is the last stopping place for some of the bravest people out there. And the therapist comes back with just stories about the difference that music makes, how it pulls people out of depression and confusion, and that this is something that really has to happen. And I think another thing that people don't really know is that for small organizations like the Concord Community Music School, we rely on multiple streams of income. We have our earned income, which is what we get through tuition and workshop fees and all that kind of stuff, and the contributed income, which comes from NHSCA and from other sources. For us and probably for other organizations, the fear is that there may be a chilling effect. If the state, for example, puts out a very clear statement that it doesn't value the arts anymore, then what about these other foundations that we're getting money from? Are they going to change their priorities and only fund the same things that the state has decided are worthy to be funded going forward? And if not, then we have to adjust our programs accordingly. That means maybe not having as many as we did before, or maybe raising the price of them. And when we do that, we put them out of the reach of some people, which goes very contrary to what is at the heart of NHSCA, which is that arts are available to everybody.
Yeah. Something I had heard, there's a lot of things we hear, so I just wanted to bring up the concept of, I had heard someone in the legislature mention, well, it could go away and then come back. And just in my experience, when I've seen when programs go away, it's almost not impossible, but pretty darn close to impossible. Once something goes away or gets pulled away, bringing it back, especially when you have staff involved who may be gone, or you have programs that pause. So I know from running a nonprofit and being on that side of it, how once it goes away, it seems very difficult that it would come back in full force. What do you think, Deanna?
I agree, and that is a concern, and I think that was what caught many of us off guard. Was we had heard about there were going to be cuts, we expected cuts, and then all of a sudden we hear now it's going to be defunded, and then we hear, oh, and by the way, we're also going to eliminate it statutorily, which makes it very, very difficult to bring it back. And so that's what I think we've really been reacting to, is this idea that not only is it defunded, but then it's never going to exist, and getting it back is going to make it that much more difficult. So I think that's why a lot of what we're doing is getting people to, contact their state representatives, contact your state senators, have those conversations in your community about getting the stories out there. How has the arts impacted your life? What are the things you've worked with, whether you've had a relative that was through a veterans care program or a theater program or a visual art program. Any of these things that you've had those experiences, or you have a young child that's needed music therapy and it's changed how they're able to interact in school, how they're able to communicate. All those things are at risk of going away, because then the organizations have to shoulder that burden as well. And I think, to Lynne's point, I do think there's a chilling effect when the state has said it's not our priority. I do think my heart of hearts says there will be foundations who disagree with that and will continue to fund all of us. But there are going to be some that decide, well, I think we're going to have to rethink how we give our money, and they may focus elsewhere. So it could have a cascading effect on certainly our contributed revenue.
Back in 1984, when I was first made chair, we created Arts 1000, which was a precursor to Arts for NH. We also created the business community for the arts, and now the rumbling is that they're going to disband. Their executive director has announced her retirement, and in the next couple of weeks, I believe the board is going to come to grips with that situation, that perhaps they're not going to exist anymore. Back in 1984, we made our goals to get $1 per citizen and move the White Mountains 2 feet to the right. We didn't succeed in either one of those that year, but we came pretty doggone close last year, and that was part of my foolish reason for stepping down. Not a foolish reason to step down, but the rationale was we've almost achieved the goal back in 1984. Now we still have those pesky White Mountains still want to stay there, but it looked like funding was pretty solid. I served under 5 governors, both Republican and Democratic, and they were in various degrees in support of the arts. And this current governor does not want to see defunding of the arts. She did. Like with just about all state agencies, asked for a reduction. She took back the Sununu's increase, which doubled the state council's budget back to where it was before then. But she's not in favor, and hopefully she will prevail in her notion.
Yeah, we only have a couple minutes here, but before we wrap up, you had kind of implicated about reaching out to your representatives. I did want to just sort of wrap up with what can folks do. As of watching this, usually we put content out that has a shelf life of a couple weeks, but it's such a rapidly evolving situation. So over these next couple of days, as of Monday, April 7th, right? I know there's a rally coming up. If you could tell us about that, and then what else, if all three of you basically could give us a few things that you think of that folks can do if they want to help out.
Sure. You can follow Arts for NH on Facebook. I know we have a lot of links there that are available for you to be able to contact your representatives and your senators. It's very easy. There's already a pre-written letter, but of course you're always welcome to put your own story in there. I think that's always more valuable. So far, as of this morning, we have, I think, over 7,000 that have used this link, which is great, but we'd love to hit 10 before we hit Wednesday. Wednesday's a big rally at noon at the State House. for a better budget. I think it's going to cover a lot of things, but certainly keeping the Arts Council as part of that. I think making sure that your voice is heard. If you value the arts in your community and what they provide for you and your family, and then I think it's reach out to your representatives, House and Senate, and let them know how you feel about that. They do listen. They really do pay attention. When they start getting floods of calls and emails, they absolutely pay attention. So I think that's probably one of the best things you can do.
For sure. I'll jump over. Lynn, any thoughts, those calls to action?
I echo absolutely everything that Deanna has said. I would add a lot of organizations such as the Music School and Symphony NH are using their social media as platforms to help educate and get the word out on how people can be of help. If there's an organization that is particularly close to your heart, call them up. Find out how can I be of most use right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. Roger, last word?
So you need to contact those decision makers. And it's very important what you talk about. Your love for the arts is not going to be have anyone disagree with it. A representative from Epsom that's made all those amendments in the Finance Committee, he talks to me about his love of the arts. He just doesn't think he should fund it. And so that's not a winning argument. But Democrats and Republicans do listen to the economic evidence. I've been through 2 of these let's get rid of the arts movements. And the first time we had 150 people show up and people talked about their love of the arts and how great and important that was. And we lost 5-4 in subcommittee, and the House voted us down, and we were saved by the Senate. The next year, we talked to some people smarter than we are, and they said, don't tire people out by having them listen to why you love the arts. Tell about the economic impact. We did. And the subcommittee this time said, or the House Finance Committee said, we can't cut this. This is a jobs bill. This has great economic impact, and they killed it. And so you got to be smart. You got to talk to them. The representatives, Democrat or Republican, is going to listen to the economic impact. They'll probably assume that you'll love the arts, but the economic impact is what sways votes.
But Roger, don't you think there's room for both of them? The emotion that one has for the arts is what inspires somebody to reach out, at which point they can use the very good information that's put together by Arts for NH to make that number. And then a argument that has both the emotional impact and the facts behind it is probably the most compelling.
Yes, and very effective is an anecdotal evidence that shows how this little girl's life was changed by this specific arts intervention. I mean, getting very specific, very anecdotal, and also back it up with statistics.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to leave it at that, but thank you to the 3 of you for your leadership, your advocacy, your passion for what you do. And I hope for our audience, most of our audience based in Concord, think about in their own lives the way art impacts them. Consider the economic development side, consider the human element of it as well, because it really is a compelling case. And I'm glad we had this discussion today. So thanks for joining us on the program, and thanks everyone for watching. And we're going to have other updates on other relevant topics coming up soon, so stay tuned.